I'm your host, Rob Carbone. This is BD4.
Barrett, some shake is big, gets a three. Chance of life in the crowd. Barrett. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye. Anthony for three. That one goes down. Gotta put four fingers up when Torres comes to the plate. The wall.
All right, episode 211 of the podcast tonight of BD4. Welcome, everybody. I am your host, RJ Carbone. I hope everybody's having a good night. As I'm recording, it's actually a day after Super Bowl Sunday. It's the night after Super Bowl Sunday. So it is Monday night, February 8th. About 8:30 as I record, 8:30 p.m. So, the Super Bowl was yesterday. That was a couple hours after the Knicks traded for Derrick Rose, which we are going to get into in, not long from now. But, the Super Bowl happened. The Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers. And, Tom Brady won the MVP of the game because, he's a big name and he probably shouldn't. I really think somebody on the defense should have won it. And if somebody on the offense would have won it, I think it should have been Gronk. But hey, who am I? Not even a football fan, so I can care less. I couldn't care less. But unfortunately the Chiefs, it didn't look like, they were getting whistles their way. The first half, it looked like a lot of the officiating was kind of up Brady's ass. But, again, I don't care enough to really get into that too much. I don't care. Not a Tom Brady fan, so I don't really care for the whole, praise that he's getting right now. I don't, cool. Congrats to him. I don't care. It really sucks that the game was so bad. That's all I really wanted to. I wanted to hit my parlays, hit my bets, win those pools that I was in, which I didn't either. I mean, I didn't win shit yesterday, so that was great. But, worse, the game was just dull. It was bad. I mean, what was it, 31-9? And was there a single touchdown on Kansas City's side? I think it was 3 field goals. So, it was 3 field goals. So, really, Ralph, there was never one point where the game was close, right? KC was up to a 3-0 lead out of the gate, and that was about it. From there on out, Tampa put their foot on the gas and just kept going. A rough game. It was very boring, very bland, too many whistles to have any kind of rhythm, very, very stagnant. Couldn't do anything out there. I was not into it. It sucks. I had a good time. I had a good time watching with my family. But in terms of the game, it was just very rough. Halftime show was a joke. We should bring back bands to the halftime show. I hate this shit we're doing. It's just more about entertainment now. Performances. Even the Super Bowl commercials weren't that great. They seem to get worse every year. They used to be so good back when I was a kid. The Super Bowl commercials will be the bomb. They would be hilarious. Doritos killed it. Like the beer commercials, Bud Light, Budweiser, they had great ones. But they're not as funny anymore, dude. I just don't laugh. They're very cheap. Well, they do have to pay like $5.5 million for them, but you know what I mean in the aspect of the way the commercials themselves are very poor. They're not funny. They're not entertaining. So a lot about yesterday wasn't great in terms of the Super Bowl. But if you rewind, a couple hours, it wasn't great as well. Not only did the Knicks drop another game to another game, they fucking lost to the Heat 103-109. They a couple hours later traded for Derrick Rose, a trade that I am not fond of on the surface. And we're going to get into that. I don't really want to recap too much, so we're going to head to break, talk about what we can remember from Sunday night's matinee, from Sunday matinee, Knicks Heat, and then I guess we'll get right into it. All right, so let's head to break, and we'll be right back.
So, really quick before we get back into the show, I do want to remind you that if you haven't yet subscribed to this podcast, or subscribed to my blog, or followed me on social media even, you can do all that by going to my link tree. Just go to linktr.ee/RJCarbone. That is linktr.ee/RJCarbone. Guys, thanks so much. Let's get back to the show.
So, well, first of all, game one was, not game one, but fucking the first game of this, podcast that we're going to discuss is the Blazers game. I don't really remember, though, much. It's honestly just all that's been on my mind this past day and a half is the Derrick Rose shit. So, the Knicks lose to the Blazers. I don't really want to talk about that. I don't remember much. They lose 110-99. No, they win. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't remember. They beat the Blazers. They beat the Portland Blazers 110-99, but it did kind of feel like a dull win. It was just a win where Elfrid Payton got way too many minutes. People started jerking him because he scored 20 points on 20 shots, so all of a sudden he's Michael Jordan. People think he's that great just because he played mediocre instead of playing like complete horseshit. But that happened. I think leading in points along with Peyton was Randall. He also had 22 points. I don't remember much. I really don't. I didn't take too many notes for tonight. I just have a lot of stuff written down about the Derrick Rose trade here. So I want to get to that, So the Knicks Blazers, again, the Knicks lose that game. Oh, no. They win against the Blazers. They win that game 110-99. Peyton and Randall scored 22 points. Leading in rebounding is Julius with 11 rebounds. Him and Peyton also combined. They each combined for 8 assists. So defensively, the Knicks did a nice job. Mitchell Robinson and Alec Burks, 2 steals, and I think they had 5 blocks as a unit. Reggie Bullock had a nice block there in the second half. But yeah, that was it. The Knicks take the victory. But we get to the game yesterday, the game on Sunday, and it was a loss. It was a game you really wanted them to take. They were in it for a while. Adjust my camera here. Hold on. Sorry. They were in it for a while, but in the end, the Knicks just couldn't handle it, and Miami got the best of them. It's another game this year where all the losses we seem to have come at the hands of. Listen, Tom Thibodeau's been great. Okay, he's been great. I'm not going to sit here and act like he should be fired, and go through that whole process again. No, I think he's the guy for this team, but I have major concerns, and this was another game where the Knicks lost because of Tom Thibodeau's shitty rotations. Why is Elfrid Payton playing 31 minutes even on a night where he's 3 for 12 from the field? Why is Austin Rivers handed 17 more minutes even though he's completely useless as a three-point shooter all of a sudden? Why, so Payton gets to suck for, and this is constant all season, Payton gets to suck for, let's say, 90% of the season, okay? And he still gets every single start and, just about 30 minutes per night. But the moment one of R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox, Emmanuel Quickley, the moment they start missing a few shots or start struggling, they're punished. And this goes back to what we said entering the season. We don't want the vets to get freedom, and we don't want the youth to be put on a leash. And unfortunately right now, Tom Thibodeau has the youth on a leash, and he's always been known as a veteran lover. And people have tried to say he changed, but no. I mean, he's showing his true stripes right here. He's a guy who's got to play his vets, and he's running the vets out there a little too much. What is it, 5 games in a row where Kevin Knox has gotten a DNP-CD? RJ Barrett had 19 minutes last night. There is no reason in his second season RJ Barrett should ever finish with 19 minutes unless he is hurt. That's my issue there. Emmanuel Quickly, just 17 minutes. In a game where Elfrid Payton, again, scores 7 points on 12 shots. I mean, it shouldn't have to be like that. This is why I have an issue with trying to win, although it makes no sense because the guys he's putting in there aren't really giving you much production towards winning, over going with youth. That's my issue there. When we're going veterans over youth, when we really could be still competitive despite, we could still do what Tom Thibodeau wants to do and win games by going youth over vets. Because again, the vets aren't even, they're underachieving. They're not even playing well. And the kids are. Emmanuel Quickly's been a big reason the Knicks are where they are. RJ Barrett has been the biggest reason outside of Randall the Knicks are where they are. Kevin Knox was off to a really solid start before he suddenly just stopped getting playing time. RJ's been so consistent this year. Just everybody, just all these kids they were really doing a good job. So this game, it just kind of expressed that even more. We even saw Point Burks out there again. I'm tired of this experiment with Alec Burks at point guard. A bit too much of that, man. I'd rather IQ, even when he's struggling, run point. Julius, the point forward thing's been working for him. I'd rather just go downhill with RJ Barrett. Burks is a spot up guy, shoots off of pin downs, pulls up. He's not a guy who's going to score on the ball. We saw that. If there's a good thing we saw from yesterday, it was that Reggie Bullock is starting to exist lately. Maybe 3 games in a row for the first time all year where he shot over 50%. He had 6 first half threes, ended up with 7 on the night. Obi Toppin played well, so that was another positive. He came in the fourth quarter and he started just exploding. He looked really good, fantastic. Good to see some flashes, finally. Some life from Obi. Shooting the ball, some nice cuts, putting the ball on the floor and driving. He looked good. He was checked out for Taj Gibson, though, of course, which I did not love, but Taj was playing well, so I won't get on Tom Thibodeau there. Overall, though, it was just a bad loss. Another loss at the hands of the rotations being garbage, and bottom line, Payton has to stop playing. And this issue with him is going to be really interesting now that Derrick Rose is here. So I want to get to Derrick Rose. All right, so let's head to break, and when we get back, boy, are we going to discuss this D-Rose trade. All right, guys, be right back. All right, so yeah, so it was kind of throughout the day. It actually started Saturday night, where we kind of got rumblings on Twitter from all these reporters, NBA reporters, Knicks reporters, saying that the Detroit Pistons were deciding. Well, it was already said that Detroit and Rose were. They agreed on splitting up. It was a matter of the Knicks or the Clippers, I think it was. And so it came down to the Knicks. And the next day, Sunday, Derrick Rose ends up signing with the New York Knicks. He ends up getting traded to the New York Knicks. Dennis Smith Jr. and a second-round pick. It's the Charlotte 2021 pick from this year's draft, upcoming draft, in the second round. So I knew DSJ, we all knew at one point or another DSJ would have been traded, right? That writing was on the wall for quite some time. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it when his value was high. They sold extremely low on DSJ. He's in the G League, so you can't get any lower than that. But there was never going to be a time where he could have really proved himself, right, with the Knicks. So that had to happen. Cut your losses there. You did not get a good return in that aspect on the Porzingis deal. Because remember, we did get the cap space to sign Randall and eventually draft Emmanuel Quickly, from the Morris trade. But, man, DSJ thing, whatever. I was, good. Get him out of here. Hopefully he can thrive, somewhere else. But because I really liked him when he came here, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But the second round pick, that sucked. I know it's, when I heard draft compensation, I was really scared it would have been a first. When I heard it was the second from Charlotte, less pissed off, but still not exactly satisfied. All depending on where Charlotte ends up this year, that could still be a pretty good second round pick. But it is a pretty decent class too. But whatever. It's not really the price that's frustrating me about this Derrick Rose deal, right? Rose comes in, he's 32 years old, dropping 14 and 4 this year off the bench, in about 23 minutes a night. Okay, so the Knicks, again, trying to win games, deal for Derrick Rose, who was coming from the Pistons, trying to focus on player development. Derrick Rose was coming off the bench there. Killian Hayes was starting every game when he was healthy. Even now, they're still focusing on, player development there. So he's coming off the bench because that's the way you do it. That's the way you should be doing it. If you're a rebuilding team, a veteran point guard should not be your point guard if you have guys you're looking at. And I don't know why the Knicks don't see that, but Pistons did the right thing, had him coming off the bench, and they eventually traded him. That's what you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, it was the Knicks on the other end taking him. I may have a little bias because I was never a big Derrick Rose fan after he won AWOL on the team back in 2017. But even that aside, I'm just not for this. I'm just not fucking for it. I don't love it. I think, the big thing is, what everybody's talking about. The folks that aren't fond of this trade have the same reason, each and every one of us. We are concerned about Immanuel Quickley being buried. We don't want him to get buried. Right? Already in the rotation right now, we've got Elfrid Payton getting way too many minutes over him. Right? So you add in Derrick Rose, and that's two veterans right there who Tibbs is very fond of. Okay, he's obviously Payton's his little pet. And now he's got D-Rose, who obviously he used to coach. He's got a close relationship with Derrick. Wouldn't be surprised. We signed Taj. We went and got Rose. Wouldn't be surprised if we gave Noah a call. Jesus Christ. God thinks it's 2011 right now. But okay, so here we go. We added Derrick Rose to Elfrid Payton. That's two vets who, again, Tom Thibodeau is very fond of. If IQ is struggling to get minutes right now, with Elfrid Payton, just Elfrid Payton. Because IQ, listen, I was looking at the numbers when I went into the game logs. This man has to absolutely go off and torch opposing defenses just to get decent burn. I think it was, let's see, there were, of the 6 games this year, just 6, where he's gotten 24 plus minutes, which is equal to half a game. He's had to go off, number of games over 20 points, 1 over 30, and then there's a 16, 7, and 6 game. So you look at all the games where he gets big minutes, it's because he's torching the opposing team, where he's scoring a bunch of points in that same amount of minutes, right? He goes out for 25 and 25, 31 points in 30 minutes. The games where he's just torching it. That's an issue itself, right? He shouldn't have to have a career night just to get decent minutes. That's an issue itself. But now, you're adding Derrick Rose, reuniting with Tom Thibodeau. And now you have a big concern here. Is Derrick Rose and Elfrid Payton, is that going to really stunt his growth now, Immanuel Quickley? I was hoping that Elfrid Payton would waive the NTC. And he would be somewhere included in this deal, but there was no way that was happening with Detroit on the other end of it. And it didn't. I'm hoping they waive Payton. Not going to happen, I don't think. I'm hearing they're trying to trade Payton now, but I don't know how legit those are. I just saw it in some article when I was scrolling on Google. But right now, I I just can't see a scenario where this really looks great for the New York Knicks. You know, and I don't really, I just, you know, people are saying, oh, you know, Emmanuel Quigley will just slide over to the 2. Dude, I mean, the Knicks were playing, they've been playing good basketball this year because Emmanuel Quigley has been really good at point guard. I want a point guard who can shoot, and he's been their point guard that can shoot. How many times? We were talking about this all last year, all in the offseason, getting a point guard who can shoot, and we had one. And he was doing his job as one. He was playing really good on the ball. All of a sudden, we're going to slide him off the ball now? And just tell him, oh, hey, play with a ball-dominant Derrick Rose. Let him run the 1. Because D-Rose ain't sure as shit he ain't sliding up to the 2. You know, Peyton ain't. It just fucking makes no sense. I mean, I just, why are we all of a sudden just it's, and some people are saying, oh, you know, Derrick Rose isn't taking so-and-so, he's taking Austin Rivers' spot. Like, that makes any sense, man. Just because he's taking Austin Rivers' spot, quote-unquote, it doesn't mean that it quickly is going to get big minutes. That still leaves the problem that Peyton is in this rotation. I'd still rather have Rivers than Peyton. But even if Derrick Rose has taken Austin Rivers' spot, you still have Rose, Peyton, and then Quickly. Not to mention the product on the court. If we ever see a lineup, God forbid, with Rose and Peyton at the same time, goodness gracious. You know, we don't like this current starting lineup as it is. Could you fucking imagine Rose and Peyton? 2 guys who, you know, they base their games off of getting to the cup, dribbling into the paint. Right? That's Rose's game too. He gets to the basket. So you're already adding Derrick Rose to a team who has the worst spacing in the league. Right? With constantly packed paints to the Knicks, next to Peyton, or with Peyton. We're not addressing things we need. You know, he's not a good shooter. He's not a good three-point shooter. It's not like Derrick Rose is a 40% three-pointer guy or even a 35% guy, league average. No. 31% in his career. Was he 33 this season? I mean, he's not a good three-point shooter. He doesn't shoot threes well. And he's not even hitting the shots at the rim this year. I looked that up too. As a matter of fact, Rose is 46% in the RA. Elford's 53%. It's worse. I mean, come on, man. I just listen, I'm willing to wait it out. Okay, I'm hoping that there's some magic that happens where somehow, some way, this doesn't stunt Emmanuel Quickly, and we can find a way to make it work to where Derrick Rose is playing well, and Quickly's the guy that comes off the bench for him. Because I'd be fine with that. Okay, in a world where Peyton fucks off and goes to communist China to play with the Shanghai Sharks or whatever, that'd be great. You have Derrick Rose getting the start, right? A better version of Quickly, of Peyton, right? An improved version of Peyton. And then you have Quickly continuing to thrive in that 6-man role. I'd be fine with that, right? Because the big issue right now is that Peyton is just so bad. Where I just don't want, you know, an egregiously bad point guard starting. So if we were just to simply drop Peyton or just give him less minutes, way less minutes, I'm fine with Rose being the primary guy and then Quickly coming in and providing that. And them occasionally playing together, sure. But I just don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to get Rose as the lead guard and then Quickly as the backup point guard. Or Rose as the lead guard and Quickly occasionally playing with him at the 2. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, again, knowing Tom Thibodeau and how he loves these 2 vets, Peyton and Rose, I see it more happening where we're going to get, you know, a rotation where Rose and Peyton are getting the bulk of the minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, and Quickly's going to be buried here. And that's very concerning to me. That's where it goes back to focusing on winning way too much when you should be trying to find that balance and develop your youth. So that's just my quick reaction to this Derrick Rose trade. Again, I didn't have too many notes down. My thoughts are racing so much right now where I couldn't really gather anything. There was no recap to any of these two games like I usually do. I'm just so... Maybe I'll calm down within the next couple of days. Maybe we'll see whenever Derrick Rose does debut what the Knicks decide to do here and how they approach this whole thing. But I can't see optimism here. I can't see it. I hope to see it. I hope that this doesn't bury Emmanuel quickly, and adding a guy like Rose who also dribbles a ton. Hopefully this doesn't stunt RJ Barrett's growth. But yeah, the big thing here is I just don't want IQ to get buried. I mean, he's been the fucking biggest reason outside of Julius and RJ, arguably, that the Knicks are in this spot. He's in the friggin' Rookie of the Year running, guys. This is a guy who was, taken in the second round, and even folks were saying then that was way too much of a reach for the Knicks. I mean, fucking CBS gave the Knicks a D+ for drafting him. This was a guy who not a lot of fucking scouts were high on for where he was drafted. And all of a sudden, he's playing like a Rookie of the Year. In that conversation, at least, he's balling. He was drafted because he can shoot, push the pace, and he plays modern NBA basketball. Okay, he could shoot the rock, and he's got the floater going. He's a really solid player right now. He's the reason the Knicks are where they are in the 6th seed, 7th seed. So I just hope, man, I just hope it doesn't come to it where we sink to that level and fucking play Derrick Rose and Elfrid Payton before we play Emmanuel quickly. That's what I'm concerned about. Okay, so again, in a world where Payton is waived or does get a minutes decrease from 30 minutes to all of a sudden 10 to 15, and you have Rose and Quickly getting 25 plus, that's excellent. I would deal with that. But do we really see that happening? Where are the signs? What have you seen? What have you seen that's told you that's going to happen? So far to me, Tom Thibodeau's been a hypocrite in some ways, where he's, constantly preaching in these pressers that you need to earn your minutes, Yet Elfrid Payton, for the majority of the season, has not earned these starts, these 30-minute games, and he's out there every night. Emmanuel Quickly has certainly earned these starts. He's played like he needs to get starts. He's played like he needs bigger minutes, but he's not getting that. So he's not really following his true word there. Kevin Knox was playing well. He all of a sudden got punished because he had 1 or 2 bad games. RJ Barrett, again, he was benched in the 4th quarter the other night. Given 19 minutes, listen, I like the job he's done. We are getting a good overall season when you look at the bigger picture from RJ Barrett. He's taken a big step upwards. He's playing good basketball. Mitchell Robinson's finally starting every night, getting about 30 minutes. Julius Randle, he's transformed him from a losing player to an all-star. So those 3 guys that's huge, right? Those are the big main pieces of this starting lineup. You want those young players to thrive, and they are. But at the same time, there are a bunch of guys who are not getting prioritized the way they should, right? I want to maximize this roster, and I don't think Tom Thibodeau has done that yet. I think he's gotten more of this roster than previous Knicks coaches, but I still don't think he's exactly maximized it yet, and I think there's a lot more he can do. Okay, so while the Knicks are in this spot because of Tom Thibodeau's coaching, right? He's gotten them to play defense and win a lot of games that way. They could be even better. They could be developing their players a little bit better, and they could be even winning a couple more games if his rotations weren't so reliant on going with the veterans. So, I hope this wasn't too much of a scattered, disorganized mess tonight. Just one giant rant on Derrick Rose. I don't want to sound like I'm just against it already, although I am against it already. I guess, for lack of better words, I don't want to sound like I am stubborn to where I'm not even going to give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I'll cheer for Derrick Rose. I'll be happy if he scores some points. But I want this to work to where it doesn't, again, don't mean to repeat myself, doesn't continue to stunt Emmanuel Quickley's growth. So, time will tell, guys. Time's gonna tell. It just hit me wrong. Seeing this just didn't strike it. Didn't strike me right. It just, I didn't love it. That's that. So, I would have rather went after some kind of a wing who can shoot the ball, right? This league is about spacing now today, shooting. The Knicks just added another guy who's not a shooter, who relies on slashing. And so, on top of that, you've got the issues, your concerns with youth not getting minutes. So we'll see. Fuck it. Let's head to break, and when we get back, we'll get to the NYK question of the day. Be right back. All right, so in episode 210, for our NYK question of the day, I asked you guys which Knick became the first NBA player to connect on 200-plus three-pointers in a season. The answer to that was John Starks in the 1995 year. He was the first NBA player to drill 200-plus threes in a year. I believe he hit 217 that year. So John Starks was the answer to episode 210. Our NYK question of the day for this episode, for episode 11 of the podcast of BD4, is simply, who leads the Knicks all time in free throw attempts? All right, so who leads the Knicks all time in free throw attempts? All right, so message me the answer on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Or you can comment the answer once I publish, the promo to this podcast on one of those social media feeds. All right, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me rant and repeat myself over and over about why I don't want Derrick Rose. Again, not about the price, but rather about what this could cost, on the court. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Yes, we have a little bit of a different setup. We kind of rearranged the studio a bit, but, if you're listening to the podcast, no different. But thank you guys. If you're listening to it, if you're watching the podcast, whatever, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. God bless you. And that's all we've got. That's all we've got for tonight's episode. Just going to wrap it up quickly. Not too much of a, about 35 minutes tonight. That's all we had. So I hope to see this trade work out. I really do. I just can't be too confident. We'll see. All right, we'll see. All right. Yeah, that's one thing, man. Before we go, so many Knicks fans are so up the Knicks' ass. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of, not being allowed to have an opinion on this team. Just because we're 11-14, wow, so great. It doesn't mean we can't have an opinion, right? It's okay. I'm a blogger. I'm a podcaster. I'm supposed to have a take on this team. I'm not just going to shut up. I'm not just going to sit down and shut up. Just because they're playing better, it doesn't mean the Knicks have been absolutely perfect this year. They're 11-14, guys. The only reason we're giving them so much hype is because they've been so garbage in the past. I mean, let's be real. We're allowed to have an opinion on a team that's 11-14. This is a Knicks team that's got issues. We could talk about them. It's okay. Not everything is perfect. It doesn't mean I want Tom Thibodeau fired. It doesn't mean I want this guy gone, that guy gone. Although I would love Elfrid Payton to be gone. It just means I want this team to be the best version of themselves that they can. It's some of you are so up their ass, or some of you maybe it's not even that. Some of you just want to sound smart and sound like Mr. Reasonable to where you go with a different opinion than what the popular narrative states. You know, and sometimes popular narrative isn't always right. I get that. Trust me. But at times it's like at times, you know, there are fans who just try to sound reasonable just to stand out. You know, oh, look at me. I'm agreeing with the organization, so I must know what I'm talking about. I'm going with the typical MSG narrative, the typical narrative that Knicks reporters run with. I must know. You know, I must sound like I know what I'm talking about. It's okay to have an opinion that isn't exactly up the organization's ass, okay? Just because they're professionals and we're fans, that doesn't always mean they're 100% correct on 100% of the things they do and say, and we are 100% wrong on all the things we do and say. That doesn't mean that. You know, just because they're pros and we're not, it doesn't mean we know zilch. Knicks fans know shit. They're allowed to have opinions too, especially the ones who've been watching this team for a while, the diehards. And the ones who watch this team, even right now, for 48 minutes a night. Okay, if you watch this team for 48 minutes a night, if you've watched them consistently like I have all season, I don't even see how you could even have an opinion that even resembles anything else but that what I'm saying. I mean, most Knicks fans are exactly in this boat where they're a bit skeptical about the Rose trade, but they're willing to let it play out, right? I get that. I'm there too. I'm just not confident that it's going to play out the way that we want it to. So we'll see what happens. Guys, thank you so much. Again, don't want to keep repeating myself and keep ranting. So I'll end this here. This is your host. I am your host, RJ Carbone of the podcast of BD4. This is episode 211 of the podcast. The Knicks bring back D-Rose. All right, so 211, that's going to be it. That'll wrap it up. I hope to see you guys in the blog. I'll write the recap blog either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how lazy I am. Recapping the Miami Heat game. And then, on Tuesday, we will, I think we're facing Miami again. So, for a second game in a row. So, that'll be interesting. All right, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, subscribe to BD4. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast right now. Just go to my website, nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com. That's my website. But if you want to find the website, find my social media outlets and all the links where you can reach me and find me and listen to me and read me, just go to my link tree. That has everything you need. So just go to my link tree for all that information. Go to linktr.ee/RJ Carbone. Guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. All right, ciao.
This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.